What is your reaction to their reaction saying this never happened?
Well, one, thanks for having me on here, guys. I appreciate it. Well, it's interesting. I've also got a lot of texts and phone calls from other 86 members that have said they got my back. I don't know. I don't want to get in a tit for tit with everyone. This was the 1980s. The bench jockey and stuff that went along in those days was sometimes obscene in nature. And I heard what I heard, and I put it in the book for a reason. And that's where I'm at. I mean, I don't know how else to respond to it, and I guess as we move forward, we'll figure out how to do that.
So there's no chance because Dwight Gooden has said Lenny. Now he said he doesn't remember this, but he never heard that from Lenny. Kevin Mitchell said if he had heard it, he would have gotten in his chest. There's no chance you misremembered this in your mind.
I don't. No chance that I misremembered it, Trey. And I do say that if you read the entire chapter, it's really how ashamed about my complicitness in these kind of things that happened in those times where that seemed like the right way to compete. The right way to get on the opposition. The bench jockey could be anything that you wanted it to be. So that really was the gist of the paragraph. Certainly, that is not how it's coming out, and I'm going to have to deal with it accordingly.
Yeah, Ron, we have reached out to Rich Gedman, who's the catcher for the Red Sox, and Bill Buckner playing first base. Wally Backman was next, on deck.
Yeah.
From that, so we're trying to effort all these players as well to see what they heard. Do you foresee players coming out from those two teams, or maybe some fans, and having your side of this, saying, yes, they did hear this? Because the way you make it sound is he was screaming it, so many people should have heard this.
Yeah, I mean, that will be up to them. I'm just trying to, in the book, and the reason I chose the paragraph is because of my memory of those times. I do not feel that I misremembered anything. I certainly wouldn't put this in a book just to sensationalize it. I think my reputation as who I am is not that kind of person. So I'm going to stick behind my story, and I don't know where else I can take that other than I wrote something. I'm going to stand behind it, and as things come in, I'll have to react in whatever way that people react. But that's my memory of the situation, guys, and that's where I'm at.
Talking to Ron Darling, Mets analyst for SNY, World Series champion, and author of 108 Stitches, Loose Threads, Ripping Yarns, and the Darndest Characters from My Time in the Game, with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. One of the other things that Lenny just mentioned yesterday when he joined the Michael Kay Show was that you've never been a fan of his. What was your guys' relationship like when you were players? What's it been like since then for this kind of thing to come up behind it?
Yeah, that's a complete falsehood. In fact, when he was trying to do the Players magazine, which was a venture of his, I don't know how many years ago, I was one of the first people that he reached out to try to help him with that venture. So I don't know, what he thinks our relationship was. I had absolutely no problem with Lenny ever in his career. One of the greatest clutch players ever played for the Mets. But that's what I remember from that night, that's what I'm sticking with.
Ron Darling joining us now. The book is 108 Stitches, his memories of the game, and of course, there's one memory, one passage specifically that has garnered a lot of attention. You said a lot of players have texted you and had your back. Are any of them willing to come forward and say, "Yeah, we heard that too"?
Yeah, I haven't talked to them since I was up at 5 o'clock and saw the text, so I certainly didn't call anyone back. I don't know that. I think moving forward, that would certainly help my cause. But I certainly don't want to get in a tit for tat for Lenny. I think I'd lose that situation. He's very prolific in speaking and defending himself. I just, he's there's been a lot of things he said regarding me, and I'll just have to, react as they come. I don't know what else I can say other than to say what I wrote is what I remember, and as things come in, hopefully that'll be backed up.
Talking to Ron Darling again, World Series champ, author of 108 Stitches, and certainly this is what happens, Ron, as you well know, when you write a book, when there are allegations or accusations against a person or a team or something. People are gonna come back on it as well. As far as this was specific to Game 3 of the World Series. You were a teammate though with Dykstra, obviously more than just that game. Had you heard him at other times using this kind of language directed toward other minorities?
Certainly Lenny had his own way of speaking, had his own way of being that cutting edge kind of person. I heard many things from Lenny. I think with regard to this, what I was trying to emphasize in the paragraph, that despite kind of being ashamed now as a 57-year-old person, at that time there's probably no one cheering harder when he hit the home run against Oil Can Boyd. So, that was I was hoping would be the gist of the paragraph, but certainly it has not become that.
Ron Darling with us in the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. You mentioned that, though. You weren't proud of your complicitness in that moment and being a part of that. I mean, the rest of the 86 Mets season that year, we've heard a lot about in the past. Is there anything else along the way in that you bring up in the book or just in general that you look back and sort of cringe in the same manner with?
Well, I think I don't cringe at the way the team played, certainly, but I do cringe at some of inaction. Guys can be as bad as action in retrospect. Now that I look back on it,